What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. I'm here with my co-host, Dave Martinson. Dave, 2 times in a week, we're grinding. We're on that grind. How you doing,
Hashtag
man?
for the culture, dog. We cannot wait delay any longer.
Yeah, we had a lot of stuff to catch up on after having a 2-week, not a hiatus, but just bringing you some different content for those 2 weeks. So we talked about music earlier in the week. If you haven't caught up on that, we talked about the new Kanye album, new Pusha album, Shawn Mendes, churches,
Spotify, Governor's Ball, all music.
Lots of fun there. So find that soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod or on Nowstalgia on YouTube. Subscribe somewhere below if you're watching the video. We're going to be talking about movies today. And there's a lot to get to. We're going to talk about Solo, Fahrenheit 451, and The Tale. But we want to start with some news first. So we mentioned a couple pods back about Joaquin Phoenix taking over the role of the Joker, or doing a prequel Joker, an origin story Joker, with Todd Phillips tied to it. Very exciting. I think we both were excited about seeing Phoenix in that role. But then it's announced today that there's also going to be a standalone Joker movie for Jared Leto's Joker from Suicide Squad. I was pretty surprised at this, and I'm not really sure how this is going to all work within that universe. But I'm interested to see how you respond, because I think that you might have been a little bit higher in Suicide Squad than I was.
I mean, that's all relative. I didn't think Suicide Squad was good.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Jared Leto's actually, in on producing this Joker movie as well. And, from his comments around Suicide Squad, a lot of the scenes he shot didn't make the film. And you think about it, Joker is not even the antagonist of the movie. He's just kind of like a side character, right? And we'd heard that Leto was attached to future DC films. The Harley and Joker movie was talked about. A Suicide Squad 2 is still kind of expected at some point. So I never thought Jared Leto's Joker was one and done. But this is yet another DC EU movie announced via the Hollywood trades. We're still not getting any kind of talk from Warner Brothers themselves. Like, we'll get the Star Wars later, but they announced the Benioff and Weiss trilogy and the Jon Favreau show and the Rian Johnson trilogy. They came out and said that those were real things and those things were happening. And DC, every movie we hear about, whether it's the Batgirl movie having Joss Whedon, then Joss Whedon leaving Batgirl, and then Batgirl going in the back burner. This is all just reporting. Like, nothing is coming from Warner Brothers, right? So I never thought we'd get a Joker solo movie this soon, but I mean, the only DC movies still that have release dates are Aquaman later this year in December, and then next year we have Shazam with Zachary Levi and Wonder Woman 2. Like, The Flash still doesn't have a date. The Batman with Matt Reeves, that still doesn't have a date. So like, everything's still so nebulous with them that it's just, I just kind of get frustrated that we can't get any like real messaging. But at the same point, I also don't put a whole lot of stock in this yet, because until they actually confirm it's happening, it could be like any other report. The movie's kind of happening, the movie's kind of not. Like, there was the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey report kind of recently as well. But I mean, what are you going to believe?
What would you want to see out of a Leto Joker movie? I have some thoughts, but I wanted to see what you threw out there first before I drop the fire content I've come up with.
Yeah, so I didn't think, like, some people I noticed totally hated his portrayal of the Joker. I thought it was interesting because it was different. I didn't think he was bad. It was just he made a choice, and I think given more time, maybe a little better direction, being in a better film, I think it could be cool. But still, it's kind of like Venom, the Venom movie coming. Having a villain as your lead, are you going to make them like a full villain, more anti-hero-y? He's going to be comedic, I mean, there's so many angles to potential Joker film that I don't know, but I mean, I think a lot of people would love to see, just try and capture something from like how the Joker was in the Batman animated series, but that might already clash too much with the Joker we got in Suicide Squad. So I don't know, maybe Leto changes it up a little bit, who knows, but I think maybe anything with the criminal enterprises in Gotham, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, because you assumingly you would not have Batman, and
Right.
like it's yin to the yang. So how do you tell a Joker story without Batman or without Harley Quinn? It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to center. It can't go younger Joker, or at least not that much younger, just because you have Joaquin Phoenix playing a origin story. I was thinking, what if they did a whole movie just about the Joker and why he chose the tattoos that he chose, or why he chose those teeth?
Sure.
Like, just kind of going through like flashbacks to his past and like looking at like how he like decided on each thing. I mean, this is also kind of silly in a way because like the Joker having these tattoos is something that Leto, I think, came up with himself, like his own concept of the character, and it kind of tore people apart, or at least the fan base apart. So I mean, the other thing I was thinking is just like if they did a like not the Killing Joke, but something similar in that vein, of much grittier, older Batman, older Joker, like near the ends of both of their like crime fighting and whatever careers, and looking at that. But man, I mean, when the line that sticks out most to me from the Suicide Squad Joker is, "This bird is cooked." Like I have very little expectation for a Leto movie.
I mean, I would assume that the more artistic choices would be reserved for the Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, because that's like separate.
Definitely.
As far as we know, this Jared Leto Joker movie, by very existence, is connected to all the other DCU movies, so it might have to serve continuity in a certain regard. But again, there's still a lot open. But I'll wait for a script. I don't think was there a script announced yet. Like there's still a lot of work ahead of them, like most of the DC movies that get talked about. So we'll wait and see.
Definitely a lot to wait and see. And let's jump to Fahrenheit 451, something that you and I were both really excited about. Ramin Barani directed this. Michael B. Jordan starred in it, with Michael Shannon and Sophia Boutella also having significant roles in the film. Based off of an older, a book from the 50s, I believe. Fahrenheit 451.
The Ray Bradbury book came out in 1953.
Yeah, and obviously they updated this. They try to stylize it a lot more, and instead of the television being the force that they're fighting, like they're trying to control, it's now the internet they're trying to tame or reduce, like the content that society can intake. Man, high expectations. Michael B. Jordan seems like he can't miss nowadays. Big swing, big miss in my opinion. This thing was trash, absolute trash. And not only that, but Michael B. Jordan was absolute trash in this movie, and I was very disappointed. Michael Shannon was Michael Shannon, but man, I was really let down by this.
Yeah, I thought Shannon was pretty solid. He was playing himself the way like Woody Harrelson was playing himself in Solo, which we'll get to. But and I thought Sophia Boutella was actually good.
She was great.
I find her incredibly compelling. Put her in more stuff again.
Yes,
loved her in Atomic Blonde. But yeah, I felt Michael B. was a little overacting. He also delivered some weak lines. That's not his fault, but I thought the way Montag evolves really fast. I don't know. It was very jarring. Yep. So I didn't like his performance that much. But the thing about this movie is it's a 158-page book. So to have it be on the screen, you have to I feel like you have to kind of do a lot of work to not make it so jarring, and they just didn't do that. This movie was still only 96 minutes or something. Like it seemed pretty short, pretty quick. Really just all about moving the plot. Laura Harrier played his wife, but they cut that role on the cutting room floor. She's not even in the movie. She's kind of an important character in the book. You remember her? She played Liz in Spider-Man: Homecoming, but yeah, she's not in the movie at all. And I thought this had a lot of potential. I don't have any problem with them modernizing. I think it's a kind of a smart, convenient way to justify, a remake of the movie. They did a movie version, several decades ago, and the internet, having the internet in there, and like hard drives and AIs and stuff. There was a lot of potential, I thought it looked decent, as a dystopian world, but overall, I think it just fell incredibly flat. The storytelling was very simple, and yeah, like I said, it was really all about advancing the plot. There was not a lot of nuance.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on something that I thought was the strongest part of it was just that the world looked great. It had this almost futuristic noir feel to it, almost like a Black Mirror type
Sure.
episode of like the Daniel Kaluuya one, like 15 Million Merits or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of good shadows and stuff, and the fire looked good.
Yeah, and I thought Patella was great too. But to go back to Michael B. Jordan's poor dialogue, I can't get this like one scene. I forgot what the name of the thing that like hangs out in the house, the like Alexa type thing that's in the household. But at one point, and there goes my mind in the background. At one point, he literally says turn off or go dark, and then it responds to him as he's reading, and he's like, I thought you were turned off. And I was like, oh God, that was so bad. I mean, it was just cringy at points.
Especially because we saw Michael Shannon's character go dark and then put a lamp over it for extra privacy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Guy, his name's literally Guy.
Yeah.
Why didn't you think about this? Come on, like I think because living in 2018, any normal viewer understands how surveillance works. Like, your phones might be listening to you. Your Alexa's definitely recording at least some stuff from you, right? Mm-hmm. So like something so simple like that, it's just an oversight that just comes off as really lazy.
Right. Yeah. And I think the other thing is that, like you said, it's a very quick development. And the thing that like stirs him is this woman lighting herself on fire. And then, Beatty kind of egging him on, giving him opportunities to like read the books, things like that. But they cut out two major things from the book that really drive the character development. And like you talked about them cutting his wife out, she's a major part in the book in terms of helping, kind of pushing along his character development. Because if I remember correctly, she dies from an overdose.
I believe she's a bigger character than Clarice.
Huge character, yeah. And Clarice, I think, is in the book briefly, and she also dies in the book. I mean, spoiler alert to anyone that hasn't read Fahrenheit 451.
I forgot about that.
But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't really understand how you can try to. I guess maybe they wanted to give Batella a larger role. They probably felt like her performance was so strong they wanted to kind of maybe make that bigger, but just overall, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. And it was really disappointing because I really thought that this cast could have been great.
Yeah, and but also, I mean, to cut the wife character, to cut any kind of nuance, any kind of extra scenes of the characters just being the characters, I still don't understand why you did that because the movie was 96 minutes long.
Right.
There's going to be short. We're talking about The Tale in a second. That's a 2-hour movie. So maybe the script was just weak to a point that I needed to rework it. And this is the best possible film they could have made off what they shot, perhaps. But if that's the case, I think it's a rare miss from HBO. And I guess this kind of a movie like Paterno, which was like not as good as everyone thought it would be, but still good. Like Fahrenheit 451, we expected to be better, but maybe it's more in line with some of the other HBO movies made where you can't expect too much. I don't know. Yeah,
and I mean, I think we're going to be talking about HBO property, moving forward. We haven't really talked about Westworld in a while. And Succession started. So we're going to be catching up. But I think that they've been actually taking a lot of L's recently, especially after, last year they had The Young Pope, which was kind of out of nowhere and so good. And so a down year for HBO just as a channel in general, or a service in general. Why don't we jump to The Tale, though? You prefaced it real quick. Directed by Jennifer Fox, a story about her life and her own experience. If you go on Rotten Tomatoes, this has a 98%, one negative review out of 52 to this point. And it's higher than I thought it would be, but this was a pretty damn good movie. I was just kind of knocking them a second ago, but I think that this was, it's a project that's been in the works for, I think, 3 or 4 years now. and I think there's been multiple people attached to it, but Laura Dern, ended up playing the role of Jen Fox in the movie, and her and the child, Isabel Nalise, are just fantastic in this, and they give really powerful performances around a really difficult topic. What stood out to you about this movie?
Yeah, and you can't actually give HBO too much credit for this besides opening up the wallet, because we mentioned this when it was at Sundance earlier in the year, and after Sundance, HBO just bought this, right? So they didn't produce this themselves. Right. They're just distributing it, obviously. I think what stood out to me actually was the nonlinear storytelling. There's flashbacks, obviously, with adult Laura Dern and the little kid as well, as just basic memories, but also then how they're talking to themselves, and the older Jen Fox is just trying to her younger son. I think overall it's a very effective movie, and it's kind of a tough discussion because what it's about, someone who's trying to internalize and rationalize and justify
pedophilia
their victimness, and trying to reject that. It's deep themes. It's not something as cut and dry as advancing the plot like in Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, it's really heavy. My initial reaction as the movie was wrapping up was just kind of like a sigh of relief that it was over. And that's not because I didn't find it to be well done. That's because, you're sitting with, someone's trauma and a serious look into the experience of trauma. And that's actually where I think Laura Dern plays this role almost perfectly. Because you kind of see her at the beginning of the movie. She's this, documentary maker, very successful in this relationship with her boyfriend, who's common, but she kind of hints at that, she's never wanted to have a committed relationship, doesn't want to settle down. And throughout the movie, as she's kind of forced to face this trauma, when her mom finds this essay she wrote about, mentioning the inappropriate relationship that was being had, it really, you see her through the movie in different ways just start to unravel and really start to wear it in her body posture and her face and the way that she talked. And I think back to that coffee shop scene between her and Iris, as adults. And man, the way Laura Dern talks about it, even just when she's even just the way she delivers that, you're whoa, right. Very heavy, very weighty performance. And I mean, shout out Isabel Nalise, who playing basically alongside Jason Ritter for most of the movie, who was way too good in a very pedophilic role. But that child is a star. No.
Yeah, and they have to tell you at the end that there's an adult body double for the sexual scene. So they were going for it. But I think Elizabeth Debicki actually really stood out to me too. She played Mrs. G, younger Mrs. G. I first came aware of her from The Man from U.N.C.L.E. She was really good in that. And she has that line when she's talking to the camera and that fake interview that Jen is having with her, and then she was no one saved me, and just all these telltale signs of abuse. But when you actually talk to someone who it's happened to and is perpetuating it, it's no really easy answers. I thought if anything didn't work, I thought her professor teaching scenes, what she was talking about was kind of stuff. It was pretty on the nose. And then really in the beginning, when she first gets to the stable as a kid, there's that line about Jews and Jews being higher on the horses and stuff, and it just felt really out of place because never came back, a weird prejudice comment. Around that time in the movie too, I really liked that sense where initially the memory starts off and she's 15 years old, and then refreshes oh wait, no, you were younger, you were around 12, 13 at the time, and it resets, and that's when you get the actual young actress who will be in the rest of the movie. So overall, I thought it's not necessarily a fun watch, but it's incredible filmmaking.
Yeah, definitely something to check out. Why don't we jump to Solo? Because I think we have a lot to dig into here, a lot to break down. Solo, the second anthology movie in the Star Wars universe. Rogue One came out 2 years ago. which kind of crazy to believe it's been 2 years. If you want to hear a review of that, check that out, soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. We talked a lot about Solo because I think not only the character is maybe one of the most beloved within the Star Wars universe and maybe even movie history, but this also had a lot of production problems. I mean, Lord and Miller were originally signed on to direct this. I think it was July last year, so almost a year. They were fired by Kathleen Kennedy, and Ron Howard was brought on to kind of right the ship and hopefully bring this thing home. Right now, it's sitting at 71% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 62 on Metacritic. I was pleasantly surprised by this movie, but I didn't love it. And I've heard people have the whole spectrum. Some people really like this. Friend of the pod, Sean McKenna, said that he would put it like in like the 80s, close to 90s. I've heard some people say that this movie is absolute trash and they never want to watch it again. Where do you fall on that scale?
I can't understand the trash comments. Like, I can understand people like not like, you know, some will take it, some will leave it, but I don't really see how you could say it. It's like I liked it a lot. I thought it was very entertaining. As a big hardcore Star Wars fan, there's a lot of moments I really liked and like really spoke to me. But you know, I thought overall, it was a fun ride, and it was more Star Wars in that original trilogy era sense. But it kind of gave us something new. The Empire wasn't really a part of it, and I thought it was, you know, despite being 3 familiar characters featured heavily in the film, I thought it gave us a little different side of Star Wars, and that's why I really liked it.
Yeah, it was definitely a different side. I think the things I really liked about this movie, you know, I thought some of the performances were either better than I expected or really good. I thought Emilia Clarke was actually really good in this movie for the first time on the big screen. She really nailed it. Ehrenreich, I thought, was serviceable as Solo, and I mean, he's in a no-win position as Han. You know, people, if they want him to be, you know, I don't know, they want him to be doing an impersonation of Harrison Ford. That's no one actually wants to see that. But if he puts his own spin, people are going to say, well, it's not like the actual Han Solo, so he's in no position. I thought he was fine. And Lando was great. I also thought that they did some really cool moments, like when Tobias Beckett gets in the guns of the Millennium Falcon and like Luke's music played, like the same music that plays when he got in the gun turret the first time. I was like, ooh, that's a cool callback. And just little things like that they did really well.
There were a few moments where like the original Star Wars score pops in, primarily in the Falcon, which I thought was a cool touch. But yeah, I mean, you probably should start with Ehrenreich. I mean, like you said, he's in a no-win situation, but having watched Solo, there's like no one else I would have rather had done it. You know, I thought he did like he felt like a young Han to me, who was still becoming Han. You know, I think some people were coming to this expecting him to be like the rogue, the scoundrel that he is at the start of A New Hope, right? And if that was the goal, if that was the case, that would have been hard because he would have just been straight up aping Harrison Ford's performance, which is pretty hard. He's one of the most charming and handsome actors in the history of Hollywood. So it's a tough ask, but I don't think that's really what they wanted him to do. And it's funny because like those really early reports when like the negative production notes started coming out about how Ehrenreich's really bad, they might have brought in an acting coach, and he's like, it's kind of like Ace Ventura. And like even the moments in the movie that were lighter and probably Lord and Miller scenes, he didn't feel like Ace Ventura. So like, I think some of this gaslighting was a little overblown, let's put it that way. But I think the thing about like the reception of the film though is that everyone's coming into this movie, with the exception of maybe very young kids, everyone's coming into the movie with a personal bias one way or the other, right? A lot of people didn't think there should have been this movie just because it was kind of superfluous. You could say the same about Rogue One, and a lot of people do. Other people say that Harrison Ford is the only Han Solo, no one else should play him, which is a fair take, I suppose. And then a lot of people were just kind of perturbed about, you know, Ron Howard getting forced in to finish the movie. So, you know, I think there's a lot of muted enthusiasm about the movie, and that can definitely affect people's perception of it. But overall, I thought Han was effective in the movie, you know, full stop. And I think everything around him. There's talk about the script and whether it was good enough to justify firing Lord and Miller. I still don't really think that was the reason they were fired, but I think the script is actually kind of a strength because it's straightforward and it kind of leads Ehrenreich. He's not. So I was very I was, like you said, pleasantly surprised because a lot of us were coming in expecting something bad, and could we ever really expect Lucasfilm to drop a turd on us? And I don't think they'll ever do that, and they didn't.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you're talking about Ehrenreich's performance. What did you think about that opening scene? Like before he's in the army there,
right? With Lady Proxima, on
Corellia. Yeah, first of all, Corellia, trash ass planet, and just like that whole first scene, like the way he gets out of it is he throws a rock through a window, like what? Okay, but go on. What did you think?
Well, as a Star Wars nerd, I was like, cool. You recanonized Corellia as Han's planet. Nice. Han applied to be in the Empire, and he washed out of the Academy. You brought that back. Nice. But yeah, I think that is kind of a weak point, but I feel like it didn't take that long to progress. I mean, the thing is, like, the fact that he'll be separated from Kira, from Emilia Clarke, it's so obvious to anyone who's ever seen a movie before, obviously, that maybe having that much build up to it, wasn't necessary. But at the same point, I guess they wanted to kind of, strike home their relationship, make it make sense, considering it is kind of the, driving force for the movie. But yeah, I think that's certainly, a weak point. Some people said it took too long to end. I didn't feel that way, but I can understand.
Yeah, that opening scene, it was probably only like 12 minutes or something like that. It felt to me like a half hour. And then when it basically ends with him crying next to this box, like after he joins the Empire, the Empire, and I was just like, oh god, this is going to be a slog. It picks up pretty quickly because then basically it's like a cut scene into that war scene, which freaking awesome. Like, I want more of that. If we're gonna do another spinoff, give me like some like a real gritty like Star Wars like battles like movie. And Bradford Young's cinematography in this is just like, I think that is the major saving grace for this film. Is that just looks great the whole time.
Right. There actually is a few really cool shots. Like there's one of Han with his hand like over the blaster.
Yeah.
Towards the end. And it's like, those are just like Rian Johnson did a lot of cool techniques as well in Last Jedi, but generally that's something we haven't really had. Interesting enough, IndieWire ran a piece about this. So Bradford Young's cinematography definitely stands out, definitely a unique look, right? I think a big part of that is that it uses a lot of low light situations, and apparently throughout the country there were a lot of theaters that weren't up to normal projection standards, and the movie was just coming across too dark.
It was really dark in my theater.
Yeah, so it's just like what you were supposed to be seeing was not what you were getting because the theater wasn't up to standard. And a lot of people in cinema circles were really pissed off about this because it's Bradford Young, a really big shot cinematographer, obviously a rival, a movie we both really love, and definitely a unique look to it. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, overall, he was a great choice, and I would love to see them continue to bring unique, people with the camera.
How'd you feel about Lando? He had a Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian. I thought he basically became Billy D. Williams in this movie, but I've seen some people pan his performance, saying it was kind of almost just too much of an impersonation and not much of his own spin on the role.
Again, I do not understand that because, in my opinion, it's so weird because Donald Glover, way more famous than Alden Ehrenreich, yet he's almost by default going to be a better Lando. And yeah, I thought he was great. He was, what did Billy D tell him to do? Be charming. That's what he was, charming as shit. He was super fucking suave. He had great lines. L3 was a great part of the movie.
Oh, really? I did not like L3 at
really?
all.
I again, like Rogue One with K2 from Alan Tudyk, I thought yet another droid character that steals the scenes she's in.
I mean, like her? Definitely stole the scenes that she was in. Phoebe Waller-Bridge voicing L3. I thought that there were moments where she was really funny, but then there were also moments that I was just like, oh god, like it felt like Lord Miller put this droid in there to just be this like zany character of the that they were playing with.
What would you not like the references to a relationship with Lando?
That was definitely something that I was kind of like, not so sure about this. I hated in the final battle scene when she like liberates the droids. I
Oh, you
just
didn't
kind of
like
was
that?
like,
Interesting.
I just kind of, I mean, like, good, liberate the droids, but like just like then they're like jumping up on top of the computers, and like it felt very like Ewok-y to me in a way, and like, but not in the way that I'm like, oh, because I get the Ewoks, like they play a part, like whatever, but like almost to the point where it's just like they're focusing on this like add like comic relief instead of actually adding something really to the story, in my opinion. Also, just I did think it was really funny when she said that she couldn't perform when everybody was watching her. That was a really funny scene. Like I give them props for that. But overall, I just kind of found L3 kind of grating in a way.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool that we finally had like a female droid of substance.
I agree with that.
Basically, every other droid is a dude, or dude-esque. And yeah, I mean, like the droids are always like a tangential part of Star Wars, but they're clearly second-class citizens. They don't we don't serve your kind here, right? In the cantina.
Right.
So kind of playing into that and having her be like droids' rights, like she was a feminist. I mean, I thought it was great, and like that scene where right before we meet Lando at the first Sabacc game, where like there's like it was like cockfighting, but it was droids, and she's like, "No, you don't have to do this. You have autonomy." Like, I don't know. I really worked for me. I thought it was because it's like something that you could totally see existing in Star Wars, but we've never actually gotten it yet, But actually, what happens to L3 with her going into becoming part of the Falcon, I thought was the fucking awesome retcon. Because if we remember this quote from C-3PO, "Sir, I don't know where your ship learned to communicate, but it has the most peculiar dialect." And then,
also, he calls it really smart, right? He says the Millennium Falcon's really smart, and that's L3's whole thing is she has like the most advanced navigating system in like the galaxy or something like that.
Yeah, and even the Last Jedi novelization references the peculiar quirks and personality of the Falcon. It's kind of something that's been referenced and talked about for a long time, and now there's actually kind of a reason for it. And again, that's something that did we ever need that to be explained? Of course not, but why not explain it when you're already going to make the movie? That's my take on it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I didn't have a problem with it, and I thought it was nice to add something in there. I mean, it's another thing I didn't really like about the movie. Kind of going back to that scene was, they're worried about getting figuring out how to get out of there, and they got to keep the what like petroleum or whatever it is, like the space
coaxium.
fuel. Yeah, coaxium cold, but like they like basically looked at it once, and then they're like, oh, it'll be fine, and then like they never went back to that. Like
it wasn't really the ticking time bomb it was presented to be. I agree.
Exactly.
It was like a fake stakes.
I also am kind of middling on the Chewbacca thing. I liked how they met. I just was like, I don't know if you need to like have him explain that he can understand, like speak Wookiee, and then never go back to speaking Wookiee again. He just like after that's like, oh, now I can understand English. It's like, I don't know. It was fine. I didn't hate it, didn't love it, but it was just kind of like, But I did like Chewie being like this, like captive that was like eating people, and then just like the back and forth between Ehrenreich and Chewie, and it was great.
Yeah, it was a cool callback initially to like the Rancor scene in Jedi, right? But they kind of recanonized the Wookiees being enslaved by the Empire thing, and what was actually kind of interesting to me is I thought they would kind of spell out the life debt aspect to it a little more bluntly, but they I think they kind of just left it alone. It's kind of assumed, but we got a lot of other things. Like you saw Han got his name, Han got his blaster, Han obviously how he got the Falcon, right? So I thought maybe the Chewie life debt would kind of be name dropped or something along those lines. Actually, a really cool thing for the dorks was when Lando meets Beckett for the first time, and he's like, "You're Tobias Beckett. You killed Aurra Singh." And everyone in the Star Wars nerds are like, "Oh shit, Aurra Singh's died. What the fuck?" You remember she was the that tall lady with the white skin with like the antenna in her head. She's like watching the pod race for like 3 frames in Menace. And then she's like obviously badass in the cartoons, the comics, but that was all she was in the movies. So that was a cool, like, combining of worlds thing for me. Yeah. Obviously doesn't make the movie or anything, but I think we should really talk about the two set pieces of the film. There's first the train heist towards the beginning in Act 1, and then the Kessel Run, of course. So how'd you feel about those? Because I thought the train heist in particular, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, that was the part of the movie where I was like, all right, let's go. Like, I mean, you go, the war scene kind of throws you right into the middle of this action, then it kind of slows back down again. But then the train heist, I mean, Tandy Newton is awesome in that scene.
For sure.
But I mean, I just thought that was a really great way to not only like bring some excitement and kind of bring that kind of the spirit of the film more into focus, that this is what Han does. This is what his life was like doing these sort of heists and being this kind of scoundrel, but also just like the setting of it and like the look of it was awesome. And being on this like moving train, and then Han having to go up into the ship and fly for, like, or at least you see him pilot for the first time as Jon Favreau's alien dies, which is also like so random. Yeah. So that's Jon Favreau. Shout out Pod Save America. Yeah, I mean, I think that was great. The Kessel Run was a little bit less for me, with that like octopus type space thing, which seemed very Lord and Miller-y to me. So I was kind of like, okay, like this is fine. But yeah, the train in particular, I thought was probably the best scene in the movie.
Right. I did like how the Kessel Run ends, where like they like overload the Falcon, then it doesn't work at first. You're like, oh, now it's gonna happen. Then re-kicks in. But that was cool. Yeah, Tandy Newton's Val. She was really effective in a short amount of time. You almost wish she got more of that.
Yep.
And perhaps her death probably could have meant more if she was in the movie longer, but I don't think that was really the intention. Interesting though, like Beckett's whole theme or shtick about not trusting anyone, don't only root for yourself, was kind of initially jarring because he was kind of close and seemingly trusting of Val. So
I think they were married. Her name is Val Beckett, and his name is Tobias Beckett.
Well, there we go. So. Yeah, that was an note to me.
Yeah, and then she dies, and he's like upset for like 1 second, and he's like, "Oh, now we have to go figure out how we're not going to get killed." It's like, dude, like the only person in the whole world that you trusted just got blown up, or just blew herself up. Like,
and I actually really thought Enfys Nest was compelling, both as just antagonists, because as we start, we're like, oh, they're like rival gangsters or rival smugglers, whatever they are. And cool, let's see that. That's a part of Star Wars we don't really get, but is out there. And then we realize, wait, it's a little kid, and it's the fledgling rebellion connection as well. So I thought Enfys Nest was really cool. How'd you feel about Paul Bettany? How'd you feel about the Vision playing Dryden Voss? Crimson Dawn.
I was fine with it. I mean, I think it was kind of obvious that Michael K. Williams was originally set to play this role. I think he's actually supposed to be like an alien, which, I mean, you get one black guy in it, or I guess the second black guy in the movie, and you're going to make him an alien. Like Lando's the only guy that's allowed to be black in this. I guess Mace Windu as well, right?
But Lupita Nyong'o also did mocap work for Maz.
And as an alien, yeah. But yeah, I thought he was fine. Like for having to basically be put back in the movie on very short notice. They probably only had a couple days with him. He's a little out there, a little flamboyant, but that's freaking Paul Bettany. Let him do his thing.
and that's the thing that like I didn't quite understand. Like, Donald Glover is clearly in a different movie than everyone else, and Paul Bettany is just kind of going for it. I'm like, so there's no personalities in the vast Star Wars galaxy. Everyone has to have the same tone. Like, I didn't quite understand that. I mean, like, there's prequel characters like the Death Sticks guy who's way out there and way off of fucking Obi-Wan's, wavelength. Like, we have this throughout all of Star Wars. I don't understand that critique, But
yeah, I thought Bettany was good.
I thought he was good. I thought his relationship with Kira, and he was menacing. Definitely. And like he has this like fucking like space sex yacht,
which is
traveling around. He's always going to show up.
Yeah,
like it was dope.
Yeah, Jabba would have had that same thing if he could have had the glow up. Well, what did you think of the Maul? I don't know, appearance at the end.
Oh, right. So Darth Maul shows up via hologram, actually played by Ray Park, the guy who played him back in '99,
looking like he looked like the Night King, like almost. It was like a little jarring.
And voiced by Sam Witwer, who voiced him on Clone Wars, because Maul has been back for some time. So apparently, according to the Kasdans, their script said that you put that spot there, and that could be, any character you want. It could be Jabba, maybe it could be Prince Zor, you recanonize Black Sun. It could be Boba Fett, perhaps, or it could be Darth Maul. And Ron Howard went with Darth Maul, apparently. I think it's incredibly interesting that Lucasfilm would so acknowledge the canon cartoons, Clone Wars and Rebels, so explicitly. Because while Darth Maul has been back since season 4 of Clone Wars back in 2012, the majority of people that saw this movie have no idea about that and don't give a fuck anyway. So the fact that you're going to do this and say, hey, Maul got cut in half 19 years ago, but he didn't die then. He already came back. You can go find that out if you care, or you can wait for what we're going to do with him next.
Right.
And there's no reason that they would sanction bringing him back if they weren't going to do something else with him. Because he's already had a lot of Clone Wars stuff. So I think that's probably speaking to the Obi-Wan spinoff that's talked about, but not confirmed.
Yeah, I think it's very telling of where they're going next with it. And it kind of brings me to, I think, kind of the way we wanted to wrap up this discussion. This movie had, I think 80 million plus the opening weekend. And then it really tailed off the second weekend. It's only made 155 million domestically and 271 million worldwide. Right. And it's, on pace right now to lose money. I think it'll probably come close to breaking even, if not maybe a little bit more. But people said that we didn't need a solo movie, that this was kind of superfluous. Mm-hmm. They announced that there's going to be a Boba Fett spinoff. And I believe that they have a director.
James Mangold, director of Logan. Very exciting.
So, I mean, they're sticking with this plan. And I think an Obi-Wan spinoff has almost been confirmed. Lando spinoff has almost been confirmed. There's a lot of movies coming down the pike here. What's your take around that? I mean, do they really want to keep doing this if they can't guarantee they're going to make a lot of money?
I think it's a lot of factors. Most of the box office analysts say that the main thing was that this came out 5 months away from Last Jedi. That's simply not enough lead time when the movie wasn't marketed like a normal Star Wars movie. How recently did we get the first trailer? It was the Super Bowl? It just hasn't been aware in the public consciousness for the average person enough. Combining that with negative reports, muted buzz from fans due to knowledge of said reports, it being a Han movie that some people didn't watch, just all these factors coming out ahead. Like you said, it made, I think, 83 for a 3-day weekend, 101 for the 4-day, and from over Memorial Day, a holiday weekend. Dude, it was projected to make 130 to 150. 150 would have been on par with Rogue One. Mm-hmm. So it was just really, and then it fucking bombed overseas.
Huge drop off.
Rogue One made $1 billion, but that might have set people off, the wrong calculus. But I think the main thing is it was marketed really badly. And, also another thing is it's good. It's not great. It's the first, Star Wars movie besides the prequels that's it's good. There's not a whole lot of horror excitement about it. Some people really like it. I really like it, but I don't think there's enough buzz about it. You got to go see this the way there's buzz about Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and even Rogue One. So, them going forward, episode 9 doesn't come out till December of next year. I think this actual extended break is good for Star Wars brand, but Marvel can handle 3 movies a year. I think Star Wars could too. They just have to be the right movies. And I think Lucasfilm will find their way, because we have to remember this Solo movie was again greenlit 5 years ago in 2013. We haven't seen any Star Wars movie besides the ones that got announced 5 years ago. So I think Lucasfilm, if you want to do the positive spin, I think they will learn a lot from why this didn't perform well, despite being probably as good as they could have made it given the troubles behind the scenes. And maybe Lucasfilm will be a little more open to working with creatives. So I think there's a lot to take away from it. And ultimately, I think it's unfortunate that the movie won't be seen by as many people, given how good I think it is. But how Lucasfilm operates moving forward with the Rian Johnson trilogy, the Benioff and Weiss trilogy, and the Boba Fett James Mangold movie, which was announced in the trades literally the day Solo dropped as a tactical move, and a Boba Fett movie you don't assume would make $1 billion. So
No.
maybe they're going to be okay with taking more shots and lowering the expectations depending on the type of movie. But Star Wars ain't going away. It's okay. But this might not make money. First one ever for them.
Yeah, I can't remember the quote, but there was a quote by Kathleen Kennedy that basically alluded to the fact that Lord and Miller were just a little too out there, in their what they were looking to do. So I think that they're probably going to try to go a little safer in terms of who they choose. I mean, Mangold is relatively safe. If he's going to be doing something along the lines of Logan, I think you kind of know what you're getting from that. And you can definitely build a great Star Wars movie through that lens. Lord Miller was definitely from out in left field choice. What would you want to see for an anthology movie? I mean, we kind of know Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, and Lando are probably coming. What would you want to see, though, in terms of a Star Wars story?
Well, and that's the thing. I think the idea, the concept of the anthology movie, separate from the Skywalkers, we're getting that like half-assed because Rogue One is incredibly connected to New Hope, and Darth Vader's in it.
Right.
And then we have Solo's origin story along with Chewie and Lando. 3 characters we know will live through the movie, right? So, and I don't think we're there yet, but an anthology that's just in the galaxy, whatever the fuck you want it to be, but without someone we know. And that's kind of the hope with what Favreau's TV series will be for the Disney streaming service 7 years after Jedi, probably with most people we don't know. And then Rian Johnson's trilogy and Benioff and Weiss's trilogy, I assume at least one of those goes way back. Just let's see Star Wars without anything we know. Okay. And like, I think Solo, the Empire was not really in this for really the first time, but it was also still fucking Han and Lando and Chewie. So, wasn't all the way there. So that's what I would want. Just the world, but let's really get away from the original trilogy.
I want to see. I want to see that Justin Theroux Master Code Breaker movie. I just want to see him like balling out. But I also want to see like a heavy Leftovers influence. So maybe we get maybe we have him like, kind of have like suicidal thoughts and like questioning his place in the world, like and like near the end of his code breaker career or like a drop off, and then maybe lose a lot of money in that casino or something. I don't know. I want to see that though. Give me that. And also Wedge Antilles, one of my favorites from the original trilogy. I want to see like the battle. Like he was like in like that universe. He had like a long career as like a pilot
Rogue
and a
Squadron
war hero. Yeah, so I want to see some more of Wedge Antilles. Give me his I don't know 3 movies. So hit us up with the movies that you want to see Star Wars make at Nowstalgia Pod on Twitter, YouTube, wherever. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Drop us a subscription on YouTube. Any last thoughts around Solo, Dave?
I think there's a lot to the film, both production and the film itself, but I don't think it's trash. I think it's good.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, and for some people it's great. So unfortunately, not a lot of people will see it, but hey, it's a learning experience for Lucasfilm.
It's a 65 to like a 70 for me. So I think that's better than where we were thinking it was going to be. So pleasantly surprised. We got a lot of stuff coming next week. We alluded to it in the last pod, but Kids See Ghosts, we're going to be talking about Georgia Smith. I think we're going to be touching on Legion next week is the goal. Maybe
Ocean's 8, Black Thought, Father John Misty, plenty of stuff to talk about. Both
a lot of
already out and forthcoming.
So stay tuned in. We'll keep bringing you that content. Have a good week.